I mean, another very good example is Starlink. We haven't got Starlink because of these kinds of laws. And the critical thing is that the role of government, especially when you've got the highest recorded unemployment rate in the world, the role of government is to make it easier to invest, not more difficult to invest.
Yeah, but if I didn't hear that, really, but I do know in South Africa, white people don't have it as good as white people have it in America. Wow. South Africa is probably the one place in Africa that was able to switch the table, where the white folks live in the hood and the black people are living good.
Really?
Yes.
I've been to Soweto.
This is why Elon Musk is fighting for those white folks in South Africa now. Because he feel like they're being mistreated and there's no equality.
White people in South Africa.
Exactly.
In Africa. The white people in South Africa.
Yes.
Where apartheid was there. Yes. All this wild shit.
We will not allow any regression or the implementation of policies that undermine the hard-won gains of democracy. While we are prepared to work with all parties, including some like the DA, our commitment is to progressive policies remain unchanged. The GNU must focus on issues that are critical to the youth, such as youth unemployment, higher education, crime, and drug abuse, and ensure that inclusive economic growth, effective service delivery, and prioritize all South Africans.
Well, the first point is, where did Amazon invest? They invested in the Western Cape. They invested in the Western Cape because we do our best to remove obstacles for investment. That is why the Western Cape has far lower unemployment rate than any other province in the country, because we make it our business to remove obstacles to investment, to remove bureaucratic hurdles, to take away this racial craziness of race identification. I mean, we're soon going to have a race classification act, because
the Employment Equity Amendment Act makes or gives the minister way too much power with regards to determining certain racial quotas within certain sectors. And then this act also gives enormous penalty powers. A company with more than 50 employees that does not adhere to the requirements of this act will be punished by fining them with 10% of their turnover, not 10% of profit, 10% of turnover. And if you take away 10% of the turnover of a company, most companies in this country will not be able to survive.
Classification Act, because now every employee has to get a form, you fill it in and you have to note what your race is. Now, who's going to say that I can't identify as a black man tomorrow? And who's going to prove that I'm not? The point is, we're going back to apartheid race classification, where people are judged on their melanin count, not their capacity, not their commitment. And so where you have these fantastic investments that we've had, look at where we've had them and then ask yourself why.
And working up from there. It is not the job of government to create jobs. It is the job and task of government to create an environment that is conducive for attracting investment and for the private sector to grow. It is the private sector that creates jobs. And the Democratic Alliance has long been advocating for less bureaucratic, stringent measures that are standing in the way of the private sector really growing jobs in this country. We must trust people to do what they are good with. People in their own private companies know how to run that company. They know how to improve that company, which will in turn grow the economy and create jobs. And that is the primary thing that we must do with regards to job creation.
The supplier did not comply with the terms of the purchase order and delivered laptops of a lesser quality than what was approved and paid for. The departmental officials regularly specified the brand they required instead of the functionality, resulting in only specific suppliers responding to the issued request for quotation. The department accepted delivery of laptops not in accordance with the specifications.